Hi, this is Natural Health for All Ages. I'm Dr. Wagner, Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine, which is a branch of medicine that focuses on helping people recover their health using natural substances. Our topic today is health from the garden. And today I have two guest speakers with me, Mark Angelini and Trevor Newman from a company called Roots to Fruits. And I'm going to have them introduce their business to you.
So what we do is we help homeowners and business owners and landowners transition their land use practices from resource-consuming landscapes into productive, edible landscapes that produce berries and fruits and vegetables and all sorts of useful things.
We also sell stuff at the farmers market, so we have a booth there representing Roots to Fruits, and then we also have a side company called Terra New, which is a small nursery, and we grow a lot of edible and useful plants that we sell to our clients and at the farmers market. So we're really just trying to educate people on how they can grow their own food and grow their own health.
Okay, so let's start with some basic things. People have mostly a vegetable garden at home, maybe a little fruit bush or something. So we'll start off with some common vegetables. I mean, any vegetable you grow in the garden has some health benefits. You know, the tomatoes and the carrots, things that we're really, familiar with, and those have tremendous health benefits. You know, things like onions as well, garlic, tremendous health benefits. But we're looking at a little bit of some of the vegetables that maybe people don't eat as commonly as like your carrots and celery and onion. So today we brought a couple of different varieties, and do you guys want to bring out what you brought for us?
So we've got some kale, and kale is a really fantastic leafy green, and it comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. We've got these frilly, curly varieties, some more flat, broad Russian varieties as they're called, just a whole mixture of different varieties. So these are really nice in your garden to kind of mix up the different greens you're growing. And these are really fantastic in the summer. They really thrive in the heat and in the cold. So if you have trouble growing lettuce, instead of making salads out of lettuce, in midsummer you can make a kale salad, just shredding it up and rubbing it with a dressing. And it's really nice. It's got a full-bodied, mineral-rich green flavor, and really packed with all sorts of nutrients.
And kale itself is a member of like a cabbage family, so again, it's very good for the digestion. Has lots of fiber. It actually helps prevent H. pylori, which is that bad bacteria that can give you ulcers and lead towards stomach cancer. So it really fights that, so it's very beneficial. It can be useful for allergies too, because it does have some quercetin in it, which calms down the immune system, so it doesn't release your histamine so easily. It actually is a good plant source for omega-3 fatty acids, so it's a plant source instead of taking your fish oil. If you're tired of that, you can, use some kale. Also has a lot of vitamin K, which is good for your bone health, good for your cardiovascular system. Stops that calcium buildup in the arteries and places where the calcium shouldn't be, but it helps the bones become stronger. And you guys usually eat it raw? Do you cook it?
A mixture.
Yeah, it's good raw and cooked. It's really good if you chop it up and saute it with some garlic and olive oil. That's kind of like my go-to method for preparing the kale.
So if you grow this in your garden, what does it grow well with? What would you usually put it with?
Well, the whole brassica or cabbage family in general, they really go well with chamomile, which is an herb that we actually use for tea. We brought in some of the dried flowers today. The chamomile plants, they release a scent that confuses some of the pests that'll often bother your kale plants. So chamomile, mint is good to use as mulch around your brassicas. So that'd be another good one to grow nearby.
Yeah, and it likes a really rich soil, so you want to give it lots of compost and a nice mulch, straw mulch or a light wood chip mulch, even if that's all you have. It really likes a lot of moisture, a lot of nutrients. I grow it in my garden with calendula, which is another really great medicinal flower that you can use in teas and medicinal preparations. You can also eat the petals. So you can grow it with a lot of different things. Generally you want to grow it with lower things because it does grow taller as the season goes on. So things like chamomile, calendula, more flowering plants.
Right, and this one has a little bit of a red veining, so it'd be a little bit more decorative if you wanted to mix it in with some flowers. And you know, you don't even have to plant things right just in your vegetable garden. You can incorporate them in the rest of your landscaping so that you can go out and say, oh, you know, what's for dinner? Oh, here's something. You know, instead of running to the store, you have something that's instantly fresh, available right outside your door. What else do you have for us here?
I just want to say one other thing too about kale. There are varieties that have that are really ornamental, that have a really tightly curled leaf formation, and you can plant those like in your flower bed. And as you pick the leaves, they get taller and taller, and you get like this this palm tree looking vegetable right in your front yard. So it's got a really nice, attractive form.
Another green that we brought in is Swiss chard, which is a relative of spinach, also very closely related to beet. This is another green that you usually cook. You can eat it raw. It's a good alternative to spinach. The leaves are a little bit thicker, so again, cooking it is usually the best way to prepare it. Sauteed with garlic is always good. You can boil the greens. There's a lot of different ways to prepare them. And also the stem is really good. You can use it like celery, so if you chop it up, you can cook it, and it has a delicious flavor.
And it comes in all these different colors. We've got one with a dark green leaf, almost like a black looking leaf in the red mid vein, lighter green leaf and red vein, and then there's white and yellow varieties as well. So this is a variety called rainbow chard. So when you plant the seeds of it, you end up with this confetti sort of mixture of colors.
This would be very pretty in your yard too. And the red one especially shares some of the same pigmentation that you would find in beets, which has that very good flavonoids for the body that you don't find in a lot of other fruits and vegetables. Very high in iron, so if people are anemic, it's a very bioavailable form of iron in these. Also, it's very good for detoxification. And folic acid, like any leafy greens, are really good in folic acid. So if you're thinking about becoming pregnant, if people are pregnant, it helps prevent birth defects. Very high in the B vitamins. Also a good solvent for, you know, inorganic calcium as well. But also like a blood builder. A lot of, like, you know, beets and the spinach are good blood building herbs because they have the iron in them, they cleanse the blood. They just give the blood ability to carry a lot of oxygen.
Yeah, so if we look at this plant, if you're familiar with beets, if you know beets, if you've grown them, this is basically like a huge beet leaf. So this and beets are the same plant. This is grown for leaves, beets are grown for a large root, and same with beets, you can get all these different colors. There aren't just red beets, there's beets that have yellow roots and orange roots and white roots. It's a whole rainbow of colors. One really good way to cook these up is you can make wraps. So you would kind of like steam this leaf, make a filling, and then roll them up, and then, you know, make some kind of sauce, put cheese on it, and bake it. That's really delicious. You can also pickle these stems too. I've done that quite a few times, and that's really nice. They're crunchy, juicy, really good in a brine or a vinegar pickle sort of thing. So that's a chard. We're really big on greens, growing a lot of greens. These plants in particular, they do really well regardless of the weather. These are good cold hardy crops, good summer crops, and we really believe you can't really get enough greens in your diet.
Yeah, and those stems are beautiful. They really go in the garden.
Yeah, these are great. You can mix these with more.
If you cut in a salad too, it'd be like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. You can mix these in your garden with things that are less showy, so you could interplant them and have a little bit of a rhythm going on with the bright color, the showy color of the chard. So,
yeah,
just
beautiful.
a great plant. Should we talk about some basil?
Sure.
So basil, this one's a little bit wilty, got picked in the midday heat, but basil's a great herb. We grow lots and lots of basil and lots of different varieties. So this is sweet basil, which is kind of like your standard Italian sort of basil, nice sweet aromatic flavor. We also grow a lot of other varieties, Thai basil, more spicy basil, so there's a lot of variation in the whole basil sort of group of plants.
It smells wonderful.
Actually,
it keeps away mosquitoes too. If you plant it
does
around like your deck, where you're going to be outside a lot, it will repel some of the troublesome insects.
Yeah, in the garden, it's very aromatic, so those oils are believed to ward off pests or to confuse them in finding your other plants. So I've planted basil with cabbages and kale and things like that and done really well. It also has nice flowers that attract lots of beneficial insects. So just all around awesome plant, and who doesn't love pesto and all these other great things, pasta sauce, all these things you can make with
And the basil itself is a wonderful herb, very good for the, anything that's like cold, flu related, any bacteria. Has a lot of those oils in it that fight off, pathogens that we don't want around. You can, dry it, boil it up in a little bit of tea if you have like a sore throat. If there's, illnesses going around, drink some tea over it. Or you can eat it like, the food, like the pesto. But for stronger use, you could use like a tea or do some capsules. You could even fill your own capsules. It's very easy to grow basil. I grow it as well. Just pick a handful, dry it, keep it in a bag over the winter for use, or grind it up. You can also make your own tinctures from it to have like a really potent mixture of this. But it's a really easy, it likes the heat. I find that it really likes heat, so it grows easy.
One way that we suggest drying is at the end of the season, before frost comes, we'll cut the whole plant down and hang it upside down. And when you do that, it seems like the oils kind of concentrate in the leaves, and then you get these really fragrant dried basil leaves, nothing like the stale stuff you buy at the store. And an interesting story, I met someone who's from the Caribbeans, and in the Caribbeans, basil tea is ubiquitous. They consume it there like we would green or black tea. So basil is a big part of their culture, drinking hot basil tea. And it actually has kind of a cooling effect, I've noticed in the summer. If you drink a hot cup of basil tea, the oils are dispersive and cooling.
Another tip too for growing basil, a lot of times we get folks, they'll come to us and they say that their basil stopped producing leaves. So what you can do is when it starts to grow these flowers, if you just pick them off at the tops of the plants, that'll encourage the plant to make more vegetative growth. So topping the flowers is a great way to keep your basil supply plenty.
Okay. Did you want to talk any more about the regular vegetables people might be growing, or you want to branch out into
maybe.
something?
These are some of the more common vegetables. Of course, peppers and zucchini, cucumbers. We love to make pickles. An interesting thing that we've done with the zucchini this year is dehydrated them into zucchini chips, which is really delicious. This is kind of interesting. This is popcorn. So you can grow popcorn at home. Very easy to grow, and then you can just dry it like this, and then you just rub them off and pop it in a pan. Really delicious.
And this is a cool variety. It's got the red kernels like that, so I'm guessing it might have some kind of
it probably has some flavonoids, right?
Flavonoid or antioxidant.
Now with the zucchini plant is big, so how would you say like somebody should incorporate it into their landscaping?
Well, zucchini might not be the best one to incorporate like into the landscape right around your house because the plants do grow very large. So this would probably be a better plant for like in the vegetable garden, just because they do grow so big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and cucumbers as well, they spread. But the corn, like the decorative corn or the Indian corn, can you grow that right by your house, or is that generally done in?
That'd be great by the house. It's a good focal point. The plants grow very tall. If you mix them in with lower plants and flowers and herbs,
okay,
that'd look really nice.
And these two varieties of zucchini, there's more than just those green zucchini you get at the farmer's market or grocery store that everyone's growing. These are two different varieties. This is Cocazelle and Costata Romanesco. So we're really into getting like those old heirloom varieties of different plants, so not just growing the whatever is available at the garden store off the shelf. You can really find some nice flavorful varieties for your garden through some mail order seed catalogs and whatnot.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some other interesting plants that people around this area might not have heard of, but they're native here, and you can use them for health. You can use them for food sources, and they can add a little bit of diversity to your yard.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. One thing that we're really excited about is the Paw Paw Tree, which is a tree that's actually indigenous to North America. They grow wild in Michigan. There's a town on the west side of the state actually called Paw Paw, Michigan, that was named after the fruit. They grow in the shade. The deer don't eat the leaves, so they're really, really easy to grow in your yard. And they're also very attractive trees, and they produce this luscious, edible fruit, which resembles some of their tropical relatives like the guanabana and custard apple. So it's very tropical-esque, but it grows right here in Michigan. Super nutritious. They contain all 22 amino acids, and the inside is like really custardy, very, very sweet, kind of a subtle vanilla flavor. And we actually brought in a Paw Paw smoothie today. So we'll be sampling this. It loses some of its yellow color because as the fruit is exposed to the air, it oxidizes and the color goes away. But very delicious fruit, really easy to grow, very nutritious, and it's adapted to these growing conditions here in Michigan. So
when, like, these are only when they don't keep for very long.
No, this is something you have to eat fresh, and when it's at its peak ripeness, it'll just fall from the tree.
And you can freeze it and then
yes,
just use it.
This was made
during
with frozen pulp.
Yeah,
here.
so you can use like Aroma tomato mill and extract the pulp like that. You can freeze the whole fruits and then cut them open later on and eat it kind of like you would ice cream. It tastes, it's like a nice
So with your
custardy.
smoothie, what did you put in it?
This smoothie has probably about 2.5 cups of the frozen Paw Paw pulp, which we harvested last year. They ripened in about October. And it also has a little bit of organic goat's milk just to add some liquid to it. And that's it. So it's pretty much the raw essence of the Paw Paw flavor.
That's good. People say it's a little bit like banana, a little bit citrusy, a little bit, maybe like papaya sort of mixture. It is very good. You could probably mix it with a little bit of vanilla as well. Maybe even put some nuts in there, make it like a pudding. It is almost like a pudding, really.
Yeah. The fresh fruit is very much like a pudding. It's fatty, sweet.
Now with this tree, how big does it grow?
They'll grow anywhere from 15 to 20 feet tall. Very attractive trees. They have kind of a pyramidal shape and really, really big leaves, so it does look kind of like a tropical plant. So it's very great for the landscape. It'd be a good tree to plant in your yard.
Does it have a color in the fall?
It does. It turns pretty bright yellow.
Okay.
It's also very adaptable. It will grow in full shade almost and still produce fruit. Not optimal fruit, but we have some good friends who have it planted on the north side of their house, and it's a full-size tree and it produces lots of fruit every year. So that's its native habitat, is the floodplains of rivers underneath the canopy of the forest.
And I came across, I was searching for it on the internet, and they said it was George Washington's favorite dessert.
Oh, really? I didn't know
So,
that.
I don't know if it was documented. They did find Paw Paw in his recipe books. So
Interesting. Yeah, it's an old time thing. When people used to spend a lot more time in the woods, you'd find Paw Paw, and it still grows wild around here. There's a number of top secret locations where it does grow in the wild.
top secret.
The Native Americans, it was like one of their staple fruits. And also there's stories of, on the Lewis and Clark expedition, how they would feast on Paw Paws, and in some situations it kept them alive because there wasn't a lot of other food to eat. So.
All right. Let's talk about these berries.
So the next one we have here is called Aronia. And these were just brought out of the freezer because they're not ripe yet this season. But this is a shrub that's native here. It grows a lot in wetland environments. It's also planted very widely in landscapes. It might even be in your landscape. So this is a flowering shrub, has very showy white flowers in the spring, only grows about 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, and then it produces an abundance of these dark black berries in the fall. And they're a very medicinal berry. They're dark rich, very high in anthocyanins and different antioxidants. And the flavor isn't necessarily something that most people are going to jump to as like their fresh fruit favorite, but in smoothies and in wines and ciders and things like that, it's a really great fruit because of its astringent flavor. So
now this also comes in a red variety, doesn't it?
there is a red variety.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you wanted to mix it up in your landscape, you could have, if you wanted some red or some purple,
Yeah.
that'd be an easy way to. And the anthocyanidins, they're very good for the cardiovascular system. Helps maintain the strength of your veins and your arteries. So if it can prevent things like anything like a stretched venous tissue like varicose veins. Keep the elasticity there. So if you're pregnant and you're worried about those, or if it runs in your family, just incorporating this and using some of it. You can use it in jam too.
Oh yeah,
Make
jam.
jams, jellies. Keep it around to preserve it. If you juice it, you could probably add it to other juices,
Oh, it's
like
great
apple
juiced.
juice.
It's
or
really good juiced.
Other juices, just to get that toning quality in all your blood vessels.
Yeah. So they're kind of tart. They're astringent. Very little sweetness though. So it's kind of a different thing. You definitely want to mix it. Most people would mix it into like a smoothie or make jam. But one of our favorite ways is to mix it with cider when we make fermented hard cider. And so we juice these and blend them with different apple varieties, and you get a really nice astringency that comes through, almost like a wine grape.
Right.
So it's a really complex flavor. But we really like them, and we like to eat them fresh. I mean, we like to eat a lot of different flavorful things.
Right,
so
right.
We
They're
get
a little tart, but right.
We get into that flavor.
All right, what else do we have here?
These are some jams that we made this season. This is jam that was made with wild blueberries that were harvested from a nearby location. It also has lavender added to it, so it's kind of an unusual flavor combination. Very delicious. We like to experiment mixing different foods that you wouldn't generally mix together, and this is another example of that. This is red currant jelly that has Thai basil infused in it. So again, we're utilizing the herbs that you can grow in your backyard and the berries that are also really easy to grow. Red currants are one of our favorites. They're very, very easy, low maintenance plants. They grow about 3 to 5 feet tall. When people ask like if they should, one thing they should plant in their yard, we usually recommend growing red currants or black currants. The red currants are very great because they will grow in full shade and still yield a lot of fruit. So if you have a shady yard, you can grow red currants and you'll get a lot of fruit. I think we have a picture in our...
There's also the white variety of it. Hopefully it's not getting too much. It's good.
So the currants and gooseberries are very, very popular in European cuisine. The Europeans have done a really good job at preserving it as a food. Here in North America, they kind of got put to the wayside, but now we're trying to kind of reintroduce the currants and gooseberries into the American diet. So.
And berries themselves are very good for the cardiovascular system. They all have all those wonderful flavonoids in them. The currants, you dry them as well? Eat them like raisins?
You can dry them. Well, that's actually a grape that gets marketed as currants.
Oh, really?
So if you're at like the grocery store or whatever and you see currants, 9 times out of 10 it's a variety of grape that's being marketed.
Oh, okay. But if you grew your own?
You can dry them, yeah, and
they're really good
dried.
We do fruit leather with the red currants, and fruit leather is another great way to preserve your homegrown fruits. You can basically make like homemade fruit roll-ups, really good.
So you'd basically just cook down your fruit with some sweetener and then spread it out in a thin layer and dehydrate it, and you can do all sorts of combinations, and there's tons of different fruits you can use.
All right, why don't you describe a little bit more about what your business does? I mean, instead of just having like a lawn and maybe like a little vegetable plot for somebody, and so like the rest of you have to mow your lawn, you have to water it, and you don't really get much back out of it besides, a comfy feeling under your feet, and maybe you rake your leaves up in the fall, but what are you trying to get people to do with the space that they have?
So kind of the core component to our business is transforming the way that we look at our landscape. A lot of times when we meet with clients, they'll ask us about vegetable gardens, and they'll, in their mind, they'll be envisioning the vegetable garden being put very far on the back of their property. So our business is kind of the opposite of that. Instead of putting your vegetable garden far away or putting all these things in compartmentalized areas of your landscape, we look at how we can integrate all of that. So how can you have your vegetables, right in the areas that you spend the most time, so that the plants that need the most attention are being looked after daily. They're close to your kitchen where you use them most often. And also looking at things like how can you utilize the rainwater that's coming off your roof? How can you recycle the food waste out of your kitchen into compost? How can you raise your own chickens for your own eggs? And kind of looking at how do we connect all of this in our landscape.
Now you work with people who have small plots as well as farmers.
Yes, small to large. Even people with balconies or apartments, they can grow lots of food. You can grow a lot of food in small spaces. So we work from small to big, from vegetable gardens to perennial plantings to fruit and nut trees.
And we offer design services, so we'll actually help you create a plan for your landscape, and then we'll also install it. We also do consulting, so if you just want some advice on where to plant things in your yard or how to manage your vegetable garden, we'll come over and give you some tips. And then we also have an aspect of our business that's focused on education. So we host workshops and seminars teaching people about the reasons why they should grow their own food and ways to do it. We actually have an event coming up August 30th in downtown Clarkston called Local Food Starts at Home. So we're going to talk about why it's important to have a healthy local food system and how people can contribute to the cause by growing food in their own yard. So August 30th, free event from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. in downtown Clarkston. Come check it out.
Well, that sounds great. I think everything that you're doing is really helping to incorporate healthy plants and healthy living into people's yards, and not just having, like the farmers, like, you know, they have one crop and then they cut down the field and it's the rest of the year it's not producing anything. Trying to incorporate different plants that produce things at different times of the year, so you know you're not wasting all that time and area. Anything else that you want to add about your business?
Yeah, well, since you mentioned lawns, I did want to mention how we have a project that we're working on called the 100 Yard and Dash. And so that's a project to get every year up to 100 people converting their lawn or their yard into productive, edible gardens, and sort of contributing to this idea of the local food shed. So we have our watershed where the water is gathering and collecting. We want to start building up in people's yards where the food is being grown and bringing it closer to home. So that's something that's coming up that's really important, is the 100 Yard and Dash, and you can learn more about that on our website.
If they want to contact you, the contact information is on the website. So thanks for being a guest today.
Thank you.
And this is Dr. Wagner with Natural Health for All Ages, and look for future episodes on this network. Thank you.